I mean, I really don't know what to say. How did the Bills win last night? What did we witness? That was literally the most insane game I have ever watched. That was the craziest game I've ever watched. Now, I do understand it's probably because that was my own team, but like, you have no idea the series of emotions that I went through last night. I mean, I went from happy to the lowest of lows, and then in the final 10% of the game, the highest of highs. Baltimore, I feel for you. You should have had the game won. I really, that was a generational choke job, and I don't say that to be a jerk. I mean, seriously, what was that? Good game to you guys, though. Seriously, you're gonna be just fine, and like I said in my prediction video, I didn't expect to win that. Anyway, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to my Week 1 NFL reaction. We have a ton to talk about today, so before we get into it, as always, don't forget to use code WyattzWorld on G Fuel, Waggle, or Prize Picks. By using my codes on G Fuel or Waggle, you'll save a discount on any of their awesome products like this. And by using my code at sign up on Prize Picks, you're gonna guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 entry. But as always, please play responsibly, and let's get into my reactions. Okay, folks, so kicking it off with the NFL kickoff for this season, we had the Cowboys losing to the Eagles in what was an actually really good game until the weather just killed all the momentum. Well, that and CeeDee Lamb dropping every important pass thrown at him, but hey, what can you do? As far as the rest of the Dallas offense goes, Dak, he was a little bit spotty, but I think that his team kind of sold him there in the end. Javonte Williams did have 2 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, his production wasn't as high as it could have been, but he was also playing Philadelphia. Miles Sanders had an earth-shattering fumble. And yeah, I'm going to be totally honest here. CeeDee Lamb, if he wouldn't have dropped those last 2 passes, not only would he have probably had a touchdown, would Dak have probably had a touchdown, but the Cowboys probably would have won the game. Moving on to the Eagles now, Jalen Hurts was nearly perfect through the air, was productive as it could be when it came to using his legs. Him and Saquon combined for 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. Receiving was very predictably led by Jahan Dotson, who didn't see that coming, right? Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown were basically ghosts for the game. And the Philly defense, even though they did come alive, you know, in the second half of the game, would have been a lot better if Jalen Carter wouldn't have immediately spit on Dak Prescott and gotten himself ejected. I saw that the Eagles signed Zadarius Smith now. I wonder if that means he's getting suspended. Anyway, decent kickoff for the season. Good game, Eagles. Moving on, we have the Chiefs losing to the Chargers in what I considered a very entertaining game. And it was a slow start for Patrick Mahomes, but he got it going with his legs, with his arms. He was making some of the craziest throws I've seen him make in a while. Receiving was led by Hollywood Brown, Juju, and Travis Kelce, who ended up getting a score, but also ended up injuring Xavier Worthy pretty much immediately. Defensively, they were able to get to Herbert 3 times, but what they weren't able to do was keep the Chargers off the board. They scored every single quarter. Herbert, in my opinion, looked like an MVP. He was fantastic. 318, 3 touchdowns, very clean. Running was very underwhelming, but you could tell that they had game plan for that in Kansas City. Receiving was led by Quentin Johnston, who had 5 for 79 and 2 touchdowns, could have had 3. Keenan Allen had a fantastic game, and so did Ladd McConkey, who also could have had a touchdown if he wasn't overthrown. Only 2 sacks from the defense, but don't let that distract you that Mahomes was dealing with pressure basically the entire night. But Los Angeles kept their foot down, and they got away with the win, and I think that was a very, very big statement win. Moving on, we have the Dolphins getting smoked 33-8 by the Indianapolis Colts in Daniel Jones, who probably had the best game of his career. I think without a doubt he did. Dude, I was so worked up going into that Bills game, I didn't even get to fully enjoy and appreciate this absolute disaster class by Miami and Mike McDaniel. Tua 14 for 23, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Devon A-Chain basically was the offense here, 55 on the ground, 20 through the air, and a score. Tyreek was shown immediately screaming on the sidelines, and Bradley Chubb got the sole sack on the defense. Look, I know it's just after week 1, but we are really nearing the end of this entire Dolphins team. Looking at the Colts now, Daniel Jones, 272, 1 touchdown through the air, 2 touchdowns with his legs. Phenomenal completion percentage as well. Jonathan Taylor went 18 for 71 on the ground. Michael Pittman's back, 6 for 80 and a score there. Josh Downs only had 2 receptions on the day. That's shocking to me. And obviously, defensively, they had a couple sacks, they had a couple picks, but it should be noted that one of the picks came from former Viking, the one I wanted to stay, Cam Bynum. Oh, dang, I didn't even see. Spencer Schrader went 4 for 4 too. Good game, Colts, and thank you for making this Monday even better than it already is. Now we got the Steelers beating the Jets in what I was convinced was going to be the game of the year for, a couple months here. Nah. Anyway, phenomenal game from Aaron Rodgers. Like, anybody denying it is stupid. He looked elite. 22 for 30, 244, 4 touchdowns. Rushing was a little lousy for Pittsburgh, but the receiving was kind of a committee here, where we saw touchdowns from Kelvin Austin, Jalen Warren, Ben Skoranek, and Jonnu Smith. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think for the first time in a long time, the Steelers got to focus on fixing that defense now. As far as the Jets go, I think Justin Fields looked fantastic. Hit Garrett Wilson for a beautiful deep pass, helped me win in fantasy this week. Also had 2 rushing touchdowns. Braylon Allen had a rushing touchdown. Breece Hall had an elite performance, 19 carries for 107 yards. And then the Jets did also have 4 sacks, where majority of them came from some of their biggest players like Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald. Look, the Jets might have a chance this year, but their defense cannot be what Aaron Glenn had in Detroit, where they just have to outscore everybody, because clearly it ain't gonna work as well in New York, and I can't even be talking about having a bad defense and then needing your offense to just be cyborgs to win. Great start for the Steelers, though. Now moving on, we have the Panthers getting smoked by the Jags, and I'm just going to be cutthroat. Bryce Young looked terrible, and there's really not a lot redeemable about it. A matter of fact, that pick 6 that got called back probably would have been the end of his career. And the first pick he threw, by the way, was just as terrible too. He threw it right into like 2 defenders. Not a hater, I'm a realist, man. I just don't think he's good. As far as the offensive scoring, I mean, it just came from the receiving, and it was from Chuba Hubbard too, even though Tet did have a good game, went 5 for 68. Starting to wonder what the heck's going on with Big X, though. 3 for 10. Like, are you just not getting open, buddy? Not much to highlight defensively either. J.C. Horn got a pick. I guess that's cool. But I'm guessing yesterday was a pretty rough night for the Panther fans. Looking at Jacksonville now, Trevor 19 for 31, 178, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Etienne actually had a big game here. Now one of the runs was like a 75-yard breakaway, but still, I mean, give him credit. Brian Thomas had a rushing touchdown. Travis Hunter had 6 receptions for 33 yards. Man, he looks explosive out there. I know he didn't do the most, but kind of looks like a Malik Neighbors how he gets up in the air. Hunter Long caught the receiving touchdown, by the way. Brenton Strange led the team in receiving yards. He will be a fantasy waiver wire pickup. I debated drafting the guy. In the defense, I mean, maybe it doesn't look like they did a lot, and Bryce Young really did help him out, but only allowing 10 points through 4 quarters, that's pretty honorable. Oh yeah, Cam Little too. Big shout out to him going 4 for 4. He got me a lot of fantasy points as well. Going on with Josh Allen? Was he just absent? Now we got the Cardinals at the Saints. And what did I tell you guys about this? Like, literally, what did I tell you guys? It was going to be closer than it ever should have been. Kyler Murray, from what I was able to see, this was a red zone game, had a pretty decent day. He was running again, which was beautiful, 7 for 38, but also a clean passer with 2 touchdowns. Rushing was led by Trey Benson. I'm happy I didn't draft James Conner this year. I'm not saying he's going to be terrible, but I feel like Trey Benson we're going to see a lot of this season. Trey McBride had a big game. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a game he should have had last year pretty much every week, 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Connor did have a receiving touchdown, but only had 4 receptions for 5 yards. Looking at the Saints now, Rattler, 27 for 46 and a couple eggs. Fantastic. Kamara got the sole touchdown for the offense. Juwan Johnson led receiving. And shockingly enough, the defense did have 5 sacks, but that is not something I can say I'm expecting to see every week. I think it's going to be a long season for New Orleans, and Shuck is probably going to start next week. Now we've got the Commanders beating the Giants 21-6, and you guys are going to have to be the eyes for me because I'm just going off of my ears for this game, off of everything I heard outside of like the 2 red zone plays. I mean, on the box score, it don't look great, but I heard Russell Wilson literally looked terrible, like almost the worst version we've seen of him. Malik Neighbors led receiving 5 for 71. A matter of fact, Wandale had a good day too. But it should be noted that I saw a clip of Malik Neighbors screaming at Brian Daboll. Guy is probably begging for Jackson Dart to come in, man. I said, what, week 4 or 5? I might go down to week 3 now for him. Looks like Bobby had a really productive day on defense, though. 7 tackles. Looks like Abdul Carter had a sack, splitting it with Kayvon. That's pretty cool. And Graham Gano's the reason they didn't get shut out. Looking at the Commanders now, Jaden 19 for 30, 233, and 1 touchdown. Looks like Ja'Cory Krosky Moret had a touchdown and 82 yards, so they are sticking with their words on using him as the featured back, it looks like. All I ever saw from this game on red zone was Deebo Samuel just running amok. He had a fantastic game, used both in the running and the receiving. And Bobby Wagner led the defense here, and honestly, Bobby Wagner might actually be the youngest person on this defense. I'm just kidding. I'm a joke. Good start for Dan Quinn, though. Now we got the Falcons losing by a field goal at the last second to Tampa Bay. They just can't have anything over there, man. Gus Swayze had an inaccurate but productive day, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns. Gus also led the team in rushing, which is outstanding. Doesn't look like rushing was productive the way it was. However, Bucky Irving did have a touchdown, and so did Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, right? He had a huge day, 67 yards and 2 more touchdowns. Holy smokes, it's Hassan Reddick with the sack. Already making a difference when he actually plays. Looking at the Falcons now, Michael Penix, again, a little bit inaccurate, but I will say from what I got to see in this game, I'm already kind of retracting my words on him. Like I said, I never said he was terrible. I just said I didn't believe in him. Well, not even that. I didn't say I didn't believe in him. I just said I wanted to see more out of him. Well, okay. He's a gunslinger. Still think he'll make a fair share of mistakes this year, but I think he's gonna be pretty good. Anyway, Penix also had the rushing touchdown of the day. Bijan Robinson had 6 receptions for 100 yards and a score. Penix seems to be sticking to his word, continuing to light up Kyle Pitts in the regular season. And defensively, it looks like that was led by Xavier Watts and AJ Terrell, and how can't we forget to mention Young Hoku missing a kick that could have changed the outcome of this entire thing. I wanted Tampa to win, but I felt a little sick when I saw it. I mean, I felt for the Falcon fans. Now we've got the Bengals narrowly escaping the Browns, and this is one that I have very little to say on. And that's because, well, this game was boring. Burrow wasn't phenomenal, T wasn't phenomenal, Jamar wasn't phenomenal, Noah Fant had the receiving touchdown. Chase Brown had 21 carries for 43 yards. Congrats to Trey Hendrickson on getting the sack. I think he's already proved his value on the extension, and without him, they probably don't win this game. Looking at the Browns now, Flacco, I mean, he was slinging it, 31 for 45, 290. Touchdown and 2 picks in there, but still. Rushing was absolutely abysmal. Dylan Sampson leading the charge, 12 for 29. Jerry Jeudy finally woke up a little bit in the second half of the game. Cedric Tillman had the touchdown. And I did see Myles Garrett lighting it up, 5 tackles, 2 sacks. And honestly, their defense played good, all things considered. Shutting down Jamar, shutting down T, shutting down Chase. But shockingly, the Bengals defense was able to actually, hold their ground for once. Now we've got the Raiders beating the Patriots 20-13. Paid attention to this game because I had Brock Bowers in fantasy, and for those who haven't heard yet, yes, he exited the game, but after the game, he and trainers said that there is nothing to be concerned about moving forward. He just got hit in the knee. Geno, 362, a touchdown, a pick. Genty had a rushing touchdown, but his production was pretty not great. Bowers had 5 for 103. Trey Tucker had the receiving touchdown, although Jacoby Myers definitely got some revenge here as well, 8 for 97. 4 sacks and a pick coming out of the defense here, 1 from Max Crosby, but another one from Tyree Wilson. It's never too late to be great, my friend. Peeking at New England, Drake May, he was slinging it. A touchdown, a pick, but 287 yards. Rushing for them was also pretty abysmal. Travion Henderson led the charge with 27 yards. Keyshawn Bout, if that's how I pronounce it, led receiving 6 for 103. Diggs did make his presence known, though, 6 for 57. And it now looks like only Harold Landry had an exceptional day, but Jalen Hawkins with 5 tackles, a sack, and a pick. Go off, my man. Honestly, to any Patriot fan out there, like, I wouldn't be worried just yet at all. Now we've got the 49ers beating the Seahawks 17-13. Now, this was actually kind of an entertaining game for as low scoring as it was. Obviously, it's probably going to be most remembered for Nick Bosa's strip sack. It's actually right here, a video of it. Kind of felt bad for Darnold, man. They were right up there, and he threw the ball, but just not fast enough, and it got hit. As far as the 49ers went, Brock Purdy, honestly, from what I saw, I didn't think he looked bad. I saw him getting scrutinized online. I thought he looked okay. McCaffrey's another one. Obviously, on the ground, he wasn't the most productive player, but overall, he was extremely productive, having 9 receptions for 73 yards. George Kittle unfortunately did get hurt, but he got a touchdown, as well as Jake Tung. Also, Ricky Pearsall had a huge day, 4 for 108. Can't deny that. And then again, obviously, defense being led by the man of the day, Nick Bosa, 6 tackles and the most important strip sack you could have. Look at Jake Moody, though, man. Like, this guy was supposed to be the future, and he is awful. Looking at the Hawks, Darnold, 150, 0-0. Can't judge a book too quick, but it's about what I expected. Now, this is where you guys know I'm going to be raising some questions. Zach Charbonnet leading rushing, 12 for 47 and a touchdown, while Kenneth Walker had 10 carries for 20 yards. Couple of questions. 1, why was he so bad? 2, why was he getting less carries than Zach Charbonnet if he's supposed to be this, monster that I'm overlooking? I had people on Twitter telling me they're just not blocking for him. Or he had 2 8-yard runs. No, I didn't see every carry, but I see that he ended with 10 for 20. I'm not taking a dump on him, I'm asking questions. Receiving, however, JSN, monster day, 9 for 124. Cup, 2 for 15. I mean, honestly, as long as he stays healthy, that's fine. Defensively, it looks like Josh Joby had a pick, Ernest Jones had a pick. Julian Love, monster day, a sack and 8 tackles. And poor Jason Myers, he did everything he could as a kicker, they just fell short. Now we got the Titans and the Broncos. This game stunk. This was so awful. Not only was it a slow start for Cam Ward, but when he actually started to cook, his team completely just failed him. Calvin Ridley, like, what is wrong with you? He's so bad. Honestly, I think the highlight of the offense was Tony Pollard, and I respect his hustle, man. 18 carries. He was trying as hard as he could, and I hope that's his future going forward. It just was against a tough defense. Speaking of their defense, Roger McCreary had a pick. Jeffrey Simmons had a sack, but also pretty much cost them the game with the amount of stupid penalties he had. And again, Joey Sly, kicker, 4 for 4, perfect day. Cam Ward's dad, I felt bad for him, man. He looked like he was about to drop to his knees. Speaking at Denver now, Bo Nix, 24 for 40. 176 and a touchdown and 2 picks. That's very Bo Nixie. RJ Harvey, we got to see have a very nice run at the end of the game. J.K. Dobbins, we got to seal it with a nice run for a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, 6 for 61 and a touchdown. I'm honestly starting to become more of a fan of him. Can't lie on that one. And the Broncos had a pretty average day on defense, only getting 6 sacks. They could have done a lot more than that, let's be real. That'll bring us to Detroit getting whipped sideways by the Green Bay Packers, who look like an unstoppable force after week 1, might I add. I mean, Goff completed 31 passes out of 39 attempts for 225 yards. I mean, what kind of stat line is that? Running was absolutely miserable, and I could ask just as many questions about Jahmyr Gibbs right now as I could about Kenneth Walker, so let's just chill, Wyatt. Sam Laporta led receiving. Amon-Ra had 4 for 45. Isaac Tesla, I saw, he had a very nice touchdown catch. It was just too late in the game to actually matter. And yeah, the Detroit defense, they couldn't really generate any sort of momentum. They could make a stop or two, but they couldn't do anything else. Green Bay side of things, we had J-Love throwing 16 for 22, 188, 2 touchdowns. Very clean day. Josh Jacobs had 19 for 66 on the ground with a touchdown. Dobbs led receiving with 68 yards. However, the receiving touchdowns came from Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft. And defense was led by Edrin Cooper. However, it was a pretty dominant effort from everybody. Quay Walker had a big game. Rashawn Gary had a big game. But how can anybody forget Micah Parsons only getting to play a couple snaps, but still coming in enough to make an enormous impact at the end, getting a beautiful sack to remind everybody just why Green Bay got him. I think the Packers look awesome right now. Now we've got the Texans at the Rams. This game was so boring, and it was also so long. It just wouldn't end. CJ, 19 for 27, 188, no touchdowns and a pick. Receiving was led by Jaden Higgins. Nico Collins did virtually nothing. I will say on the rushing end, Nick Chubb, we got to see him ball out a little bit, though. He had some good runs. We also got to see a sack out of Will Anderson. That's one of 3 sacks they got on Stafford, but they just did not have an offense. As far as Stafford goes, he was pretty surgical. 21 for 29, 245, a touchdown. Kyron Williams didn't have the greatest day on the ground, but I did get to see 1 or 2 decent carries out of him, and then he got the score. Puka had an enormous day, 10 for 130. Adams was a nice compliment there. And their defense, I mean, you might have expected more sacks or picks just judging by how many points that the Texans scored, but they only got 3 of them. Byron Young had a great game. However, this defense held CJ Stroud and Nico Collins to 9 points on the day. Take that for what you will, but it was a pretty good win by the Rams, just a boring game. And moving on, we have the Bills coming back and beating the Ravens 41-40 in the greatest game ever played. Dude, I don't even know where to start. I want to know why the team didn't play like they did the second half the whole game. That's the first thing I want to know. Why did it look like Ken Dorsey was our OC for the first half? Also, Sean McDermott, well, why did you wait until like the last 2 drives to actually defensively do something? I ain't complaining, I'm happy you did, but like, seriously, that was such like a 2 different team type of game. Dude, Lamar lit us up 14 for 19, 209, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and also one of the most ridiculous scrambles I've ever seen. We had him pinned 20-yard back, and he turned it into a gain. Then you have Derrick Henry with a casual 169-yard game with 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers' career game, 7 for 143 and a touchdown. D-Hop with a one-handed grab. Not to mention Derrick Henry also gave us a nostalgic trip throwing a Bills DB across the earth. Like, their offense was clicking, their defense was clicking, and then in the fourth quarter, they dumped the bed. Bills side of thing, Josh Allen, 394, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. That is a reminder as to why he is the MVP. That entire comeback was a reminder as to why he is the most valuable player in the league. That drive at the end of the first half to go up and get 3 points with 11 seconds left, nuts. Every drive he had in the second half, nuts. The ending drive where he just couldn't miss, he literally turned into a robot. Shout out to Keon Coleman too. Hell of a breakout performance by him. He was everywhere he needed to be. Shakir, good game. Joshua Palmer, I will never ever trash talk him again. Never. Unless he literally loses us a game. Like, that's the only way, because he won us the game in a way. Kincaid catching a 90-mile-an-hour fastball for a touchdown. And then how can we forget the defense? Ed Oliver, not only getting a sack, not only forcing a fumble, but leading the team in tackles. Joey Bosa, I can't act like I was thrilled with him. He did force a fumble too, but he was pretty just terrible. But it's not like our defense just wasn't terrible altogether. And finally, how can we not talk about Matt Prater? 41 years old, dude. I'm dead serious. I would rather have him than Bass. I feel so much safer with Matt Prater kicking the ball than Tyler Bass. I can't even describe it. The Buffalo Bills are a football team that just showed everybody that they can literally win any game. I cannot believe we are sitting here 1-0 right now. And I cannot believe how phenomenal Joshua Patrick Allen played. And that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen, for my Week 1 NFL reaction. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did and you want to show support, please do it, because you know I appreciate any and all help. In the meantime, I'm going to get this whipped up so you guys can watch it on time. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Enjoy the game tonight, and I will see you in the next video.